Good morning. Welcome to Time in His Word. I was flipping through the Bible this morning looking for a passage to use for a message. And as I was looking and I would read different verses, one of the things that struck me most, and I've realized this before and I've seen it, but for some reason it just really stood out this morning. In all the parables, we can see where Jesus slowly disappears from the crowd and goes off and prays to the Father. For instance, in Luke chapter 5, verse 16, it says, "But Jesus himself would often slip away to go to the wilderness and pray." And in the parentheses beside this passage, I wrote one-on-one time with God. The healings that he done were fabulous, and it helped bring his message, I guess you could say, because they know the people that seen the healings had never seen anything like that before. I think of when Jesus feeds the 5,000 and he sends the disciples on across the lake, and he goes off to pray, and come to find out the disciples had been fighting a storm, and rather than, the scripture doesn't say they prayed, it just said they were fighting a storm, and being fishermen, they probably thought no big deal. This is just how we deal with it. But a verse or two before that, it said Jesus, after he'd fed the people and he sent the disciples on his way, he went off to pray. He went off to have that one-on time with the Father. And then he walks to the disciples on the water, and that's when we see Peter walking on the water. But what I'm getting at is that he went off to pray. And verse 16 says, "But Jesus himself would often slip away to the wilderness and pray." Like I said, all through the New Testament, whenever we see Jesus do something, either before he's done something or after he's done something, he's went off to pray. So if we think about that in a subtle way, he is telling us one of the most important things that we can do is pray. Pray to the Father. Pray regardless. I know there's a lot of times when I'm off the road and I'm sitting on the front porch. We live out in the country, and I'll have my phone on XM radio, and I'll listen to Carrie Underwood's Sunday morning show where I'll turn on gospel music, and I'll just sit there real quiet and just listen to the music and just be in my thoughts. While I might not be praying, I guess you could call it meditation or just relaxing, whatever you want to call it, but I've got good news feeding in to hear what the Father says. So what I'm getting at this morning is, I guess it's just like really dawned on me, and we hear messages preached all the time about the importance of prayer. But the message I heard Sunday at church, and looking through this morning and thinking about what I just said, that every time we see Jesus do a miracle, either before he's performed the miracle or after he's performed the miracle, he slips off and prays. He goes and has that one-on-one time with the Father. So my question for you this morning is this. Basically, if we don't have a very strong prayer life, we need to get to work on that. We need to slip off and quietly have that one-on-one prayer time with the Father like Jesus showed us to do. It's not very difficult to do. You don't have to make a big screeching halt in the middle of the day and hold up a sign saying, "Hey, I'm having my prayer time, don't bother me." But if you got 10 minutes and in between a meeting, or you got 30 minutes before you have to get back to work and you eat your lunch and take a few minutes of that lunch break, to have that quiet time with the Father, to have that prayer time with the Father, to have that one-on-one time with the Father. Like I said, we can see how important it was to Jesus, so shouldn't we do the same? So today, if you've got 10 minutes, rather than look at Facebook to see what happened, or flip through the news to see what's happening, or engage in a meaningless conversation, why not slip off quietly into the corner of the room and have 10 minutes of quiet time, have 10 minutes of prayer time with the Father, and see what a difference that makes in your day?